Hello beautiful people, welcome back to another episode of Black Girl World Traveler, the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Airbnb and all that's been going on. And I originally wanted to talk about this prior to me starting the podcast up again. I was having a conversation with friends and we were talking about possibly doing traveling together, and you know, me being the travel expert that I am, you know, they were asking for advice on like things that we could do, places we could stay, and I was just totally against staying Airbnb because of the prices and how I feel like it has gotten completely outlandish. So let's start off with a little bit of history of Airbnb. If you're watching the video, you're going to see me looking at my iPad a lot. I did some research, and basically it was started by three men in around 2007, 2008 who were living in San Francisco at the time, and they wanted to rent out a room just to make some extra money towards their rent. So right, just a simple idea, make a couple extra dollars. San Francisco rent is high, and so they decided to rent out their room. And so great idea, you know, and then of course it spiraled, and you know, blah blah blah, and we get Airbnb.com, we get Airbnb the app, and originally it was called Air Bed and Breakfast, but they shortened it to Airbnb. So I want to talk about Airbnb, let's say 4 or 6 years ago, maybe even 8 years ago, when times were truly great. So I remember when I first started using Airbnb, I loved it because I could compare different prices of different homes that were available. I love that feature. I love the fact that I could see the neighborhood. I may not have been able to see the exact location, but I was able to see neighborhoods and see how far stuff was, and I thought that was like the best feature of the app, besides actually providing this housing option. And so I loved it. I loved Airbnb. And then once I started traveling more, I was like, oh, this is a great way for me to price compare, because sometimes I stay in hotels and I like to price compare what I see a hotel price versus what I see on Airbnb. And sometimes hotels actually list on Airbnb and they offer incentives if you actually book directly on the website, which is still true today. So it was great for me to price compare, right? And I think as a budget traveler, wanting to have my own kitchen so I could cook my own food, store my own food, that was a huge draw for me. Having my own space and feeling more like I was at home, as opposed to, you know, a hotel, it's, you definitely feel like a tourist, right? Yeah, there's no sense of like home or community, I would say, in a hotel. It's more like either for business or you're there for a predetermined amount of time. And so Airbnb really filled that gap of staying in someone's home, right? Being accommodated, maybe not always receiving breakfast, but definitely having the opportunity to cook your own breakfast or store your own groceries. And I thought that was just really beautiful. And I will say at the time, I don't even remember service fees really even being a huge concern. Like, I can't even tell you how much they were. I know I used to see prices like $20, $30, $40, which was fine. Cleaning fees were minimal, you know, a respectable $30, $40, maybe $15. I know they used to be really, really cheap and understandable, so it didn't dramatically affect the price of the overall cost, right? Because you see how much it is per night when you originally go on Airbnb.com and you click on a specific apartment or you click on a specific house, but that's not the final price. You have to account for service fees, cleaning fees, and taxes. And now, unfortunately, that's not quite true. So I'm in Texas, you guys know, and I'm totally against. I'm actually in an Airbnb right now that's paid for by my job. And when I was researching for this episode, I said, okay, let me see how much it would be to go to like a small town in Texas and how much it would cost. So an Airbnb in New Braunfels, Texas, so it's outside of San Antonio, is $329 a night. The cleaning fee is $152 and the service fee is $254. That is ridiculous on all fronts. All fronts. And if you're from Texas, or if you've ever been to Texas, you know how just far everything is and how much you have to drive. So you mean to tell me that a service fee is $254? I'm lost for words, and I'm pausing because I just can't even fathom that someone would even book that. Like, that is just pure exploitation. That is a pure capitalistic, money hungry grab on the part of Airbnb. Now let's talk about the cleaning fees. So according to my understanding, the homeowner, the person who's posting the listing, they choose how much the cleaning fee is. Now a lot of Airbnbs now are professionally managed. They a lot of people hire cleaners. So essentially what they're doing is passing that cost off onto you, the consumer, or you, the prospective Airbnb hostee. And I have a problem with that, because I'm not paying $150 for a cleaning fee when I know that me, a responsible traveler, will leave your house in tip-top clean conditions. I strip sheets, I do a light wipe down of the bathroom, just because that's the type of person I am, and I hold myself to those cleanliness standards included in your cost per night. Stop playing. And a lot of people, what they're doing, what a lot of hosts are doing, they're doubling their cleaning fee. So if a cleaner only charges $75, $100 to clean an Airbnb, they'll charge you, the consumer, $150, $200 just to make extra money. This is not that. We're in a recession. Inflation is real. We're all dying. We're losing our rights. Be realistic. And I just cannot, in good faith, continue to use Airbnb. I mean, even with the current Airbnb that I'm in, I know how much it is per night, because my coworker and I actually were looking at Airbnbs, and my coworker chose this one, and so I know how much it is per night. The Wi-Fi does not work. It goes in and out. They have a smart TV. The Wi-Fi is so bad that the smart TV disconnects. In our bathroom, the handle is broken off. It regularly falls off, like literally every day. There's so many, it's just so many problems with this Airbnb, and for it to be damn near $7,000, no, it's actually a little bit more than $7,000 per month, is ridiculous. So all these fees, right, that these homeowners and people who are listing these Airbnbs are charging, and you're giving me shitty service. You don't even offer free Wi-Fi, because your listing says that you have high-speed internet, but if you don't offer that, that's a misrepresentation of services. I want my money back. It's not my money. You know, like, we're seeing everything across the board. This is not just about Airbnb, but we're seeing everything expand, everything increase, and service is getting worse. So make it make sense. You want to take and exploit people and get as much money as you can from people without giving anything in return. It's very one-sided, and I think Airbnb shows that to a T. The other huge criticism of Airbnb is that it reduces the availability of housing in a particular city. So a lot of cities throughout the years, I would say over the past 5 to 8 years, have enacted really strict guidelines for those who can use Airbnb. I know some cities, if you own an Airbnb, you actually have to live in the state, because a lot of people, they want out of state properties. You actually have to have a permit. So I know on my Airbnb, they have a short-term rental permit, and it's actually hanging up in the house. So there's a whole bunch of restrictions in place, because what happens is people want to use, if a person buys a property, they buy a duplex or a condo, or instead of renting it out for whatever, $1,500 per month, they can put it on Airbnb and make double or even triple that in a month. So it's financially more, I guess, convenient for those who have Airbnbs, or those homeowners who have property, to use it as Airbnb. And so we know that there's a houselessness crisis in this country. There is a wage theft problem in this country, and so all of these issues are right at the center of this debate about Airbnb. And for the longest, I was pro Airbnb, but I just can no longer, in good faith, use the service and not feel like I'm being exploited. And I don't recommend it. I don't. That's a terrible feeling, to feel like that you're paying your hard-earned money. I always say, working a 9 to 5 is a huge sacrifice. First and foremost, you're sacrificing your time away from your family and away from yourself, you're sacrificing your health, and you're sacrificing your well-being to be at a job. And so you work really, really hard for your money. I know, because I do too. I work really, really hard for my money. So the thought of working extremely hard for my money and then giving it away or spending it on something where I don't even get the basic amenities, or where I don't even get basic customer service, or where I'm receiving a misrepresentation of service, it's exploitative. And then on top of that, y'all taking up housing for everybody else, space for everybody else, right? Because people want as much money as possible with as little social responsibility as possible. And I don't want to be a part of that. I know that there's so many different ways to be problematic in the apparatus of capitalism. I know that. But from what I'm experiencing and the prices that I've seen, it's out of hand. It's not worth it. I can't believe this house was $7,000. Like, they would never see that amount of money for me on any given day, you know. And as I get older and as I travel more, my standards have increased. So at one point, I was staying in hostels, and I loved it, right? I was staying in rooms with 6, 7, 8 other people at a time, 4 other people. I remember I was in Germany. I was with all other guys. It was like a group of guys. They were all friends, and because I was okay with being in a co-ed dorm. Like, there's just so many standards that I didn't have that I have now. But I don't even think this is a standard issue. I just think that it's just like what's morally right and what's wrong. And I think Airbnb and homeowners are exploiting people, travelers, and I don't support that at all. I'd rather just stay in a hotel. I'd rather the convenience of a hotel. Hotels are usually in convenient spots where you can walk, or if you can't walk, you can readily get car service. A lot of, especially in the South, hotels offer full hot breakfasts, which is amazing. I don't think I've been to a hotel in the South that didn't offer breakfast of some sort, or at least in Texas. They're gonna give you some grits and some sausage. I love it. And at least with a hotel, like, you know what you're getting, and you know that you can quickly call and receive service. That's another thing. A lot of Airbnb hosts, they don't respond quick. They don't respond quick. The last Airbnb I was in, that I wasn't directly responsible for, because you know that I'm working on the road. They didn't want to let us in for whatever reason. Like, because that was another story for another day. And that's another thing with their Airbnb. It was in the hood. It was in the ghetto. I don't got no problem with the hood, no problem with the ghetto. I'm from Philly. As for my work, I don't want to be in the ghetto. I don't want to be in the hood. And a lot of these homeowners are buying places in the hood as a part of gentrification, which does what? It erases and moves black and brown people. And then you bring in a certain type of person, a person with more income, a person that can afford to pay $150, $200 per night for this Airbnb, right? That's not really available to the regular average working class person. And so now you have a problem with erasing people from their neighborhoods, from their history, and contributing to the houselessness crisis. So it's a lose-lose situation. Poor people lose, travelers lose, everybody loses. And from what I've seen, I'm not going for Airbnb. I am totally against you. No. So let's talk about let's talk about the Airbnb course that I took. So I actually was considering during the pandemic of renting out my own Airbnb. So what I was going to do was find a place where I could rent as my business could rent, right? And then use that. So I would be the renter of a property, of an apartment, and then I was going to then put it on Airbnb and rent it out. And so that course was phenomenal. It walked me through step by step of how to acquire Airbnb, how to get your LLC, your limited liability company, how to get your bank account, your business bank account, how to find the perfect city, or how to find Airbnbs in your city. I know where I'm from in Philly, Airbnb is very regulated, it's very strict. Damn near all the Airbnbs have cameras in them because so much goes on, but whatever. Back to the course. The course was very detailed, but ultimately, so it took me probably like a couple weeks to complete the course. I think the course was $100 or $200. It was definitely worth the money. Like, it was very well planned out. But I just ultimately just didn't want to do it. I was like, I couldn't do it in Philly where I was living at the time. I was thinking about doing one in Florida. It's Florida. I don't like Florida at all. And then I just didn't want to do it. It seemed just, the ultimate goal was to extract as much money as possible. And that is not a principle that I live by. That is not something that I want to be known for. And so I ultimately decided not to do Airbnb at all. And it's the best decision I ever made. I feel like I don't want to take from people, if that makes sense. I think capitalism is all about just the extraction of things. You taking from everybody. You taking as much money, taking as much as you can in as little time as possible. And I just feel like it's animalistic. It's based off a scarcity mindset. And that's just not how I want to live my life. I like a soft, beautiful life, and I actually would like to pour into people as opposed to taking from them. Taking and extracting, that doesn't feel good to me. I just think that I think it's something like, it's a mental illness almost to like always just want to take as much as possible and not thinking about the repercussions, or if you have thought about the repercussions, to still do that to someone, it's giving sociopathic. You know, like, and this is no shade to people who do Airbnbs, the small business owners, the small landlords with a few properties. No disrespect to y'all. It's just something that I can't do and that I don't want to be responsible for. That's another thing. I don't want to deal with people in that customer service way, in that specific way. I love pouring into people. I'll talk to people one-on-one. Anybody, I'll have a conversation with anybody, but that idea of providing this service and, you know, setting your price and trying to set it as high as possible so that you not only cover your initial investment cost, but that you come out making a profit, it can feel exploitative. And especially in this market, it's 100% exploitative, because what these Airbnbs are charging per night is not what they're worth. You're not getting top dollar service. You're not receiving prompt communication, and doorknobs are falling off. The high-speed internet that it claims to have doesn't work. It's just a lose-lose situation, and so it's not for me. And no shade to anybody that it is for, but I don't know, I just feel like I wanted to find something else to do. I just wanted to, you know, like, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna travel, like, keep traveling. Like, that wasn't really for me. And if it is for you, that's great, but just think about, just try to be as ethical as possible. I don't know if there's a such thing as, I don't know if you can be really ethical in American capitalism. I don't know. I don't see how it can not be exploitative. I think it's inherently exploitative. And I know that some people was just, like how it started, some people just wanted to pay their rent. Why not address that issue? Why don't we have rent freezes? You know, why is everything going up with people's wages? The cost of food is going up. The cost of gas is going up. The cost of rent is going up. Everything is going up except for our wages. So everybody's getting a pay cut. Everybody's being hit hard. And, you know, the few that are able to crawl out, or the few that do have enough money, so they're not impacted by it. It seems like they're just taking more from those who really don't have it. And I understand the concept that, oh, you're not forcing anybody to do this, you know, this is a choice-based transaction, and I acknowledge that. However, it's my choice to also say I'm not using Airbnb no more. and I don't support exploitation of people. And as a traveler, you know, I came in this industry just wanting to travel, just wanting to see the world, not knowing how I would finance it, not knowing how I would make it happen. And I did, right? I just took it one step at a time. First I started backpacking, then I taught in Spain, then I moved back home, then I started house sitting. Now I found a job that pays for my travel, right? So it's always been step by step. And I encourage travelers out there that if you don't know how to pay for travel or you can't afford it, to look for another way. I know a big thing right now is people living together with their people that they love, people that they don't even know, right? Having roommates, essentially. And I think that's a great way to save money. I personally, this is like my first time living with roommates in my current job, my coworkers, and it's been a struggle for me because I'm a solo traveler at heart, right? I pick up and go whenever I want to go. I do what I want to do, and that's always just been me, right? I'm a free spirit, I'm an explorer at heart, and that sort of goes against like this idea of having roommates, being around people 24/7 and want to work with them as well. So I just encourage you all to really think about the choices that you make. I understand that it's hard out here on these capitalistic streets. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but you can definitely limit the ways that you engage with exploitative entities. And I think Airbnb is exploitative, and I think they need to reevaluate their business model. All the criticism that I've seen them receive is highly warranted, and for what I've experienced in Airbnbs has not been great. And you know, I guess I'll just have to continue to deal with a doorknob that is falling off and Wi-Fi that barely works. So Airbnb, do better and hold your homeowners accountable for the services and amenities that they say that they provide. I think that's all that I really want to discuss when it came to Airbnb. The travel industry is going through it right now. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm not using Airbnb anymore, pretty much. And if you are, that's great. I hope that it serves you on your travel journey. And if you're not, that's fine too. So next week I actually want to talk about the elitism of flying. I have flown quite a bit in this past year, and there's so many things that I've noticed with airlines and how they treat customers, and how it's really a war against poor people or people that are not rich or don't have money. So that'll be next week's theme for our next episode. Thank y'all so much for listening and watching this episode of Black Girl World Traveler, the podcast. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.